Hello and welcome back to Empire of the Sun. And doing a new video series on this game. I did, as you may remember, I did one a few months ago on my instructional video series, instructional AR video series. And I just wanted to thank everyone who bothered really to watch that video and tell me what they thought of it. I'm beyond flattered and humbled that it was received as well as it did. Special kudos, of course, even to Mark Herman, who even took the time to look through the videos and watch all 38 videos, I think, and gave me a lot of really good feedback. So thank you, Mark, for that. And thank you so much for everybody else there who watched the video series. What I want to do in this particular video series is to show you a little bit. I played again, and this time I was a Japanese player again, and played against a fairly new player who took the Allies. And I wanted to show you a little bit, talk a little bit about Allied strategy, in a sense, at the risk of sounding like I'm being all boastful and being sounding like a know-it-all, kind of like a little bit like what you shouldn't do as the allied player, because this game ran and then it ended pretty early because of um, some allied missteps, right? So I wanted to show you a little bit of that, show you that game to show you a little bit of what the allies maybe shouldn't be doing. So think of this as a strategy, bit of a strategy video. So I'm not going to go through the rules as exhaustively as I did before. If you want to do that, or if you're watching this video series for the first time, I will refer you to my original AR video series that will go through the rules in greater detail. But this one is like, okay, we know how to play the game, so we're going to do this. And obviously, sometimes I'll go through some rules again, but not as exhaustively as I did before. Okay, so I'm a Japanese player, and we're using the new what I call the high definition um, module version of the Vassal module. So it's a lot prettier version of the Vassal module. The counters are in high resolution, and so they look really nice. And so I wanted to thank um, uh, Francisco Colmenares, the gentleman who put the Vassal module together, for doing this. It's really outstanding the job he did. All right. So okay, so let's get started. Okay, so first of all, as you know, as we remember, the first thing that happens during the game is the Allied emergency naval move. That means the Allies are allowed to move all their naval force in emergency naval move. I think 15 hexes or 15 uh, hexes from where they started. And right here actually is, I think this is where my opponent made his first mistake. What he did was he moved. If I do this correctly, I think this goes here originally. Oh no, I think this goes here originally. The the cruiser unit goes to Samar Leyte, and the destroyer unit, if I'm not mistaken, goes down here to Tarakan. Okay, that's the original placement. Okay, so what he did was he went ahead and put both of them, and he moved them both to Kandari, like this. Okay. Normally, I don't do that. I don't think it's a good idea. I think the way to do this is to move the uh, naval units thusly. Normally, a player would move a typical allied player or typical allied move would be to put the U.S. Asia cruiser unit in BIAC, and then this guy can go to Surabaya or Batavia. Okay, and there's a reason for that. Okay, so let's just say I'm going to put this in Batavia. Okay, and in Biak. I would also go ahead and move the Dutch cruiser unit, and I would move him to Batavia. I normally do that. I move the Exeter. I'll sometimes move him to Rangoon if I wanted to. I can do that, or I can move him up to Dhaka. That's a possibility, or up here in Calcutta. Uh, if I wanted to, sorry, is that Calcutta? Yeah, Calcutta. Or sometimes I'll move him to Rangoon. Let's just move to Rangoon for now. Um, Another possible move if you want. One thing that I do also is I go ahead and move this Australian cruiser unit that's in Townsville. And some people move it to Gilly Gilly. That's fine. I like to move it to Guadalcanal. Okay, now why make those movements? Why that? Okay, why do I bother? Well, the reason is that the reason I put it in Biak and the reason I put the cruisers in Surabaya and Batavia is that the reason is that these are crucial hexes for the Japanese to take. Surabaya is obvious because that's a um, that's a resource hex which they need to occupy the DEI. Batavia is an important port because the Japanese will want Batavia in order to land forces here in order to go overland and take Cilacap. You cannot take Cilacap by an amphibious assault because the 612 unit is way too powerful. Okay, that's basically it. And then another reason I put in Biak is again, Biak is a port that controls or that has has some influence in the northwestern New Guinea, and it's a port that the Japanese would like to occupy and put land units in. Not land units, excuse me, an air unit because then it cuts off this entire area here. If you put a Japanese unopposed Japanese air ZOI like this, let's say like that, you can see right away that it's going to. Oh, how do I put the Japanese air ZOI on? Anyway, you can see that the Japanese exert a zone of influence over Sarong and as far south as Hollandia. So right here, it cuts off these areas, and so the Allies cannot land or cannot put reinforcements in those areas. The reinforcements in turn 2, or turn 3, I should say. The turn 2 reinforcements are delayed, but they come in on turn 3. They cannot come into Hollandia, they cannot come into Sarong because you do have an uncontested air ZOI at Biak. Okay, that's the reason why. Okay, all right. That's why that's an important port. Now, by putting by putting naval units in on these ports, we are forcing the Japanese to expend cards. Okay, what do I mean by that? Well, because if the Japanese land here, this is going to be a battle hex. This is going to be a battle hex. That's going to be a battle hex. And there's not much the Japanese can do about that. It's just the rules, right? Because there's an opposing naval units. You have to do a battle there. Now you might say, well, they're just going to get blown out anyway because the Japanese can bring a lot of naval force to bear, so who cares? Well, yeah, but that's not the point. The point of the exercise, or the point of doing that, putting these cruiser units and destroyer units there, is that the Japanese do have to expend a card. Now, if the Japanese if they have a lot of military cards, um, then it won't matter because they can, obviously they can declare many battle hacks and they can, destroy all these units in one card. But if they don't, on the off chance that the Japanese have very few or no military cards, well, they can't have no military cards, but they have very few military cards, then each battle hex or each hex like this, the Japanese have to expend a card, right? Expend a card here, expend a card here. That's 3 cards. Now, if you look again at how the player or how my opponent did his emergency naval move, because he did Zarkandari, right? Because he did this, okay? Notice now that this is open, that's open, this is open, okay? And there's no Dutch Azoi there because that's not not supplied, right? The Abda unit isn't here yet. So so that's an open hex. So I can just land a guy there. I can land a guy here. I can land a guy in Surabaya, Batavia, and Biak. And there's not much the Allies can do about it. Right? And why Guadalcanal? Guadalcanal. Another reason why Guadalcanal is it would be a nice idea to put the Australian cruiser unit again. It's a battle axe. Okay, normally if the Japanese occupy Rabaul and Guadalcanal, it'll take over the entire Solomon Islands chain and all these beautiful air bases in Solomon Islands, all the ports and air bases here will go to the Japanese. Okay, so by putting it there, you're basically saying to the Japanese, okay, well, I know you can destroy me, but you're going to have to play a battle card, or you're going to have to declare a battle hex, which might mean a card from you, in order to destroy me. Okay. Now, granted, I will tell you, of course, you might say, well, that's not really, I mean, they're just cards. I mean, yeah, they're just cards, but um, if the Japanese don't have battle cards or have military events, that could get expensive as far as their resources are concerned. And really, that's really all the Allies can hope to do in the beginning of the turn is to make the Japanese invasion of Southeast Asia as expensive as possible. They can't stop the Japanese from taking over, but they can make it expensive and they can make it costly. Okay, as costly as possible. That's what the Allies want to do. You just want to make it difficult for the Japanese, and but eventually they'll lose, and that's fine. That's not a problem because that's just the way the game is. All right, so I went ahead and drew my cards, and you'll see that it's quite interesting because if you look at the cards I drew, and I'll pull them out, and I know they're flipped. Okay, so this, I got that, I've got this, the Tojo card, I've got the Bose card, I have another code change card, if you can believe it. I have high altitude interceptors, and I have this inter-service rivalry with the U.S. inter-service rivalry. You'll notice that I have a very weak hand or a bad hand because I don't have a single military event. Okay, so this is exactly the hand that the Allies would love to get the Japanese to have because then that's where um, their strategy of putting emergency naval move units at Biak and Batavia and Surabaya becomes worthwhile because then for each one of these battle hexes, I have to expend the card. Okay, so that sucks. I don't want to have to do that. I don't have any battle cards, but fortunately, the uh, the rules of the game is that I can exchange. It turns out that if the Japanese in the 1942 campaign or 1942 campaign scenario, if the Japanese don't end up with any military cards, they can exchange their 3 card or their highest value ops card, in this case this one, high altitude interceptors, for the Vice Admiral Kondo card. Okay, that's just the rule of the game. And right now we can see that that's what I did. Okay, I discarded the high altitude interceptors card and pulled out the Kondo card. There, see that? The Kondo card right there. Okay, so right here, because the Allies should have that a bell should ring in their heads and basically tell them, oh, the Japanese don't have any military cards. This is the only military card they're going to have. Okay, and that has to hopefully inform your play going forward. Okay, so anyway, so what did I do with the hand of cards that I was dealt? Okay, well, as you can probably guess, um, I opened with the Vice Admiral Kondo card, obviously. So against put it against the South HQ for 8 activations. Okay, playing that for the event. And so what I did was I went ahead and did the usual tactic of the Japanese to do an air superiority strategy. Okay, so let's do that and the move. Okay, movements here and all that good stuff. The idea being is that we want to go ahead and get air superiority over Manila and Singapore. And yeah, I couldn't figure out in the beginning. I couldn't figure out how to toggle these battle hexes to A, B, and C. And it turns out it's really easy. All you have to is highlight the battle hex and type B and C. You don't increment them like you did before. Anyway, so I took a while for it to figure. I couldn't do that, so I said, screw it. Okay, fine, fine, fine. All right. So I have here three battles. I have a battle here in Singapore. I have a battle here in Manila, and I have a battle here in Balikpapan. Okay. So I did that, and okay. So I moved I took one. It took me one ASP, so I went ahead and took one ASP there. Okay, then at this point, I said, this is really all up to you guys, and handed over to my um, opponent to resolve, to do battle resolution. All right, so at this point, I'm going to stop this video and um, go on to the next video. We'll go through what happened, what my opponent did. All right. Okay. Thank you. See you in the next video.